Outer Orange.
Buddyfight is terrifying. A new zone where you can gauge, you have a new crest, a lot of weird text, lots to explain, lots to read, about 5 to 6 decks to learn. Your regional is coming up and you're really scared, but that's okay. I'm here to help you. Let's take a deep breath and learn together. So you're still gonna do your usual variable again. You put whatever away like you normally would, and then you basically start. Let's pretend we're going first. You start your turn. You know, you always just say raise the flag, by the way. Like if you actually don't say it, you're kind of screwed. Anyway, raise the flag. You draw. So you don't have a crest yet, but you're about to get one. You need to pitch first. So we are going to pitch here to then ride up to our grade 1. And this is when a bunch of skills proc. You basically get your crest here. And your crest goes into the zone and says that you can gauge. Now, at this point, you have a couple things. If your grade 1 has an off-base ability, you can activate its off-base ability. If not, you actually just go straight to the gauge, which means you take the top 2 cards of your deck and you gauge them. Realistically, I think this is supposed to be by your damage, but I like to actually put it like on top of my crest, sort of like this, just to kind of express the fact that this gauge zone is part of this. But I think the legitimate ruling is you're supposed to put it here. Now, when you gauge, you also have the ability to gauge one from hand and then draw a card. So we're going to do that. We're going to gauge this guy and then draw one, and there's that. Now there's actually one more thing that happens. This flag goes away. It basically goes into like your border zone, and this one in particular actually has a second ability where I actually have to discard a card for its effect. So make sure you read these. It's actually very important. I'll discard this, for example. This one says I die at 7, but you have to mandatorily do this. It's a mandatory effect they have to do, and that's basically your entire first turn. Like I said, it'll be a little bit different from deck to deck, but that's very important. Now from here on out, because you have the crest now, like let's say we like take a damage here and we go back to our turn. When you draw, at this point you can actually gauge first. So you can choose to gauge and then draw and then discard to proceed to ride. So here, for example, I'll just gauge this guy right here. I'll draw one, and then I will pitch like whatever card I don't like in my hand. I'll say let's pitch this, and then I'll go into my grade 2. And there you go. And then we have our gauge set up. We wrote to grade 2. We discarded. We did everything we're supposed to do. And that's basically how you would keep playing until you get to grade 3 and do whatever. So here we are on our 3. We actually have some abilities that have been going off. I'm not like really doing them. I don't really care. I'm just kind of trying to show you guys sort of like the mechanics of the gauging and how the gauging works. So anyway, so I have this grade 4 in my hand. In order to play it, it actually says I have to pay 2 gauges and retire rear guards. So in order to do that, we have to retire rear guard and pay 2 gauges. So first, let's call rear guard. Any rear guard we want. Let's just call this guy. We don't care about its ability. So we can bring this one out, but you can also, because I have a buddy here, it's the same way, so I'm actually going to show you guys the buddy ability, just so you guys know how it works. So the buddy ability says, it's a once per game thing, it says it on the crest, by the way, that you can basically call this out. I'm calling it here because this guy cares about being here, but you can call it anywhere. And then you gauge. Now, what's really important here is you do have a cost to pay. So this one says to basically retire rear guard, so retire rear guard. We're going to get rid of 2 gauges. So we'll take like this one out and this one out because he's just matter for this deck more than the other ones. And then he's on the board, and that's basically it. So now he's on the board, and now he's just there for the rest of the game. And that's how most call costs work, unless the card says that you don't have to pay the call cost, in which case you don't pay your gauge to do that. And that's basically it. That's the whole premise. And you do countercharge if you specifically call it from your buddy spot, and that's it. Now keep in mind the buddy effect is like a once per game thing, so you can only do it one time, so be cautious of when you do it. It's kind of like almost like a little baby divine turn, and that's basically it. That's how you would normally do that. Now I'm going to show you guys how to do like an impact turn, because it is like an extra turn. So I'm just gonna quickly set up like a turn that looks a little bit better. Each deck has a different impact. I'll show you guys what this impact does. This one basically says you for CB1 from hand at the end of your turn. If your opponent's damage has 4 or more cards and you percent roll this turn, you basically +1, discard a card, pay 4 gauges, declare final phase. So you have to say final phase, just FYI, as part of the cost. You're doing your vanguards and you stand it, and it attacks your opponent's vanguard. So the way this works is we're going to pretend that everything has already swung. So everything is rested. We just finished our battle phase. Then you're going to reveal this at the end of, you're going to say +1. I'm going to play my Gargantia Punisher. I'm going to get rid of 4 gauges. So we're going to take all 4 of these gauges. They're all going to go to the drop. This is basically going to join them. And we're going to declare final phase. And we're going to stand our vanguard. And we're going to swing again, basically. And this one is only draw check. So then we would just swing. And that's it. And just Put it back in our hand here, and that would be our final phase. So it's basically like an extra condition that you do that's kind of like a divine. They are like only once per game, most of them are, so just keep in mind of when you do it. But that's basically the impact turn. That's basically it. Next I want to briefly talk about the triggers because they're a little bit different. So in Buddyfight you have access to triggers that aren't actually triggers, they're actually orders that turn into triggers that are in your hand. Keep in mind it doesn't actually have shield on it, so you have to kind of remember that they have inherent shields. What I like to do, just a little tip, is like I like to kind of like right here to sample with. So what I like to do is it's kind of like how I hold my hand. So everyone holds their hand a little bit differently. So I like to hold my hand in a way where I can actually visibly see the actual square, so that way I know like, oh yeah, that's like a trigger, right? So if you play Vanguard, like you're familiar with this, you see that and you're like, okay, cool, that has shield on it, right? Physically see exactly what are guard, what's not guard. When you have it like this though, you're kind of looking at it like, oh, my whole hand doesn't have any shield, when in actuality, if you just kind of hold it a little bit differently, you can actually see that you do have shield. And just little baby tips with that kind of stuff. Now other than that, we're gonna go now into the decks. We're gonna talk about the different kind of decks. You basically have the general information of how these decks work, so let's go talk about what are the decks, what the hell is all this stuff, right? Let's do it. Also, if you're really enjoying this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And one last thing, let's up those numbers. All right, so now that you know what the decks do, I'm going to give you guys some sample lists. These are not perfect lists. I would definitely recommend taking them and innovating them. There's actually a couple ways to build some of these decks and some engines that you can lean into. There's a couple that are pretty simple and some that are more complicated. You guys are gonna have the codes. I'm gonna actually have all these below in the links. Yes, check them out. I got these from Dexander. We just had an Aussie player top, which was Trenton, so I have his list here. I have the topping Japanese list. I have some Vanguard VG Paradox list. I also use Zaren Zephyr to get all this data. So that's where I got all this information. I just took all that information, kind of put it here for you guys. So we're gonna start with the Jackknife deck. You already know, if you're at this point in the video, you should know how all the gauging stuff works. And if you don't, I really recommend watching that first before you dig in here. But if you already know how the gauging works, you should understand this a little bit better now, what you're looking at. Jackknife's premise is to basically get as many Jackknives out of deck onto the board. They basically kind of stack on top of each other and then they get extra abilities. You always want to start off with this guy and use this guy to get all the rest of your Jackknives. Rather, you can use your draw engine, your tire engine, your crit and pressure engine right here. And the general goal is you want to just keep doing that every single turn until you get to your final, like kind of like more aggression when you become a 20k base with the triple drive Vanguard. You can't, this is not an order, by the way, it's an arm. So this doesn't count for the order for turn, by the way, so that doesn't matter when you're putting this guy on. And then really on your pressure turn, you want to be able to impact them. You basically restand one of your rear guards and then you swing again. You can change stuff around. You can change what OT you want to play. You can change out the twin cast. It could be another guy. Actually, Buddyfight has a bunch of really good like generic get to play orders. Like some decks are more specific to it, but there's quite a few orders you can try out too that are also defensive that are in like a same realm as twin cast. If you don't have twin cast and you just want to casually play, there is a couple cards in there as well. This card's pretty useful. It's actually relatively cheap. It's basically another blitz that also counter charges. It's actually really good. This is really good, especially under the Teddy Bear against Heart Uluru. This will come up a lot, as you can just throw this card away, you can counter charge and do whatever. Just keep in mind on the restand, so if you already have face up CB, it's not going to work, obviously. This is really good into the Heart Uluru matchup, unironically. And then you'll see this a lot in a lot of these Dragon World looking decks where you have this heal here, you can discard a counter charge. So if you ever need a way to get your CB back, you can. You have to play this deck really carefully. You do need to gauge, you do need to know what you're gauging, what you're not gauging. So that's basically this deck. I guess I'm not going to go to super detail about all these decks. I'm just kind of giving you the brief. Now this is Aussie. Now this is literally word for word the exact deck that Trenton just took that won in Texas. By the time you've seen this video, it might be a week or so. I don't know exactly when this video is dropping, but as of me recording this section of the video, he just talked with this last night. And actually, funny enough, I decked this deck like a week ago, so it's funny. I was actually playing this just a couple days ago and had a blast with this deck. Super fun. So this deck is the regular version. This is the version that plays all the dragon cards. You actually can play a drum version of it, and I'll show you guys what the drum version looks like right here. So this is the version where you play drums instead. It makes it so that way you're not relying only on the dragon cards, because the dragon cards are good, but the issue with these little dragon cards is that they don't you kind of have the same turn over and over again. The drum cards also can revive themselves out and kind of just give you a little bit of a better board. Some of them can retire. They sometimes have a little bit more power, and they're actually generic, so you actually can get away with running them. Now, if you want to keep it pure and clean and simple and to the point and linear as hell, this is the version you want to be on. This version is really fun, by the way. I'm not like knocking it down or whatever. This is the most consistent version by far, because your Vanguard cares about dragon cards. It does not care about drum cards, and also your ride line only cares about dragon cards, does not care about the drum cards as much. So because of that, you obviously want to be preferably running dragon cards because it picks up all the orders and everything, picks up almost like half the deck. Like how you're basically always going to hit something unless you hit like all triggers. Well, you have an arm card that's like insane. It basically arms like the above arm, and it gives you Vanguard 10k to crit for your turn, and also is a 15k shield on your opponent's turn, so you can just proc it. You just go, hey, I want to play this card, and you just get 50k shield. So you basically have an extra card in hand at all times. This is also a 7 damage deck, and the reason why it is because of this flag right here. This is extremely powerful because it happens on turn 1. You can even just sit there and soak up damage and then just heal back down, or just draw a lot of cards, and that way you're like a big tank and brick wall the opponent can get through. It's very powerful. The win con, or the win con people try to go to, is like when you're on Persona. You have this guy in your back row, you have the arms activated, and then you basically just go in for kill, and then you use your impact turn, you impact, restand your Vanguard, swing again. So you can, on your super, by the way, impact or like final phase, like you can only do them once per game, like divine effects basically. So basically what you can do is you can attack Vanguard, attack rearguard, attack rearguard, attack rearguard, attack rearguard, and then impact, attack Vanguard again. So it's very good. The Gala deck, this is the deck with the infinite and the infinite power and the infinite and the crit for basically your Diablo dude that swings at you for 2 damage. I'm not as familiar with this deck, just like a little bit familiar. All your drum cards in here. So we were just talking about drums. This is the one that actually plays the drums primarily. Your big guy is this guy, basically. This is the one that gets all your drums out, very similar to Jackknife. He lets you play more drums on top of him, and you call it on top of him. It has to be a different card name from him, and then also the call cost is free. So basically you go him, and then you play whatever toolbox card you want. You have a couple of them here. You pick whichever guy you like the most, and you basically just ride him on top. You also have this guy right here that also gives a crit to your the infinite power and the crit here. Some people run this at 4. I don't know, kind of iffy on like where this card should be. I'm kind of iffy on this whole deck, I'll be honest with you, but I have seen people kind of go off with this. It can be very strong. You got your impact here, which is like your once per game, where you can choose your Vanguard to restand it and swing again. There's a bit going on here. I also have this grade 3 can also drive check, which is also really good. You run it at 1 because we have also one in the buddy area as well, and that's basically this deck. I'm not explaining it as well because I don't know it as well. Next we have the 100 demons deck. This is the other deck I've been playing. I've actually been having a lot of fun with this one. There's so many ways to build this. This is like a negate deck. Basically, anytime your opponent does something, you just tell them, well, you can do that, but like worse. So if they play an order, for instance, then you can just minus 5k one of their rear guards, or just any rear guard you want, as long as they play a normal order, right? So if you're playing against like Zorgo, for instance, you can just sit there and keep abusing this if you want to. They call grade 2, guess what? You can minus 5k that. They call grade 1, you can minus 5k that. They try to intercept, you just tell them no. Minus 5k shield of that. So you have just these little conditions that you can do to just annoy your opponent, but you also have a Highlander-esque like kind of order zone that you can work with, where in the order zone, let me find, in the order zone you can play cards like this. On the order zone, this one says you can pay a gauge, and you can choose up to 1 grade 2 or less to call it out. And Thundermine, this is this one that says whenever your rear guard with Thundermine and ability is placed, you can draw a card hard once per turn. Basically because you can only have one. You can only have one order zone. So there's like these little 1-ofs. You have this other Thundermine card that also minuses 5k. To your opponent's Vanguard, you can run this Katana card. It's like a ninja card basically that also lets you get Thundermines, and then you can bind a draw. You get your guy, discard it, and then if your damage zone has 3 or more cards, then you get to draw. Basically, you're filtering through your deck, getting all your pieces, and then reviving them back out with your 1-ofs. And then when you're done doing all of that, this guy sucks them all up, and then he gets all of their Thundermine abilities. So basically, anytime your opponent does anything, he'll just proc with all his buddy soul. And then also he can restand and swing again. And this does not care if your opponent's like right there or not. You can just kind of bust and restand him and do your thing. And you're riding up, you're reviving 2, and then you're sucking them in, and then you're basically beating your opponent's go in with these while also being super freaking annoying. That's basically what this deck's purpose is. There's 72 pillars deck. I'm not familiar with this deck, but from my understanding, it's basically just want to call a bunch of 72 pillars. And this deck has a really good impact, actually. It's a grade 1 impact. If your opponent's damage zone has 4 or less cards, you can deal them a damage by paying 3 gauges, and you can do this on turn 1. So if your opponent just happens to be at like a really high damage threshold and you have the perfect condition, you can just go and force more damage out of them as fast as possible to kind of just close out quicker. A very interesting concept. Other than that, it's a bunch of drawing and getting your 72 pillars out and just revival. And then the last one is the Katana World one. This is actually the Japanese one that won, like I think they got like 2nd place or something. So this is their version. This is the deck I know the least about. I'm not really going to go super detailed to it. I just know that it's a lot of negating. You're basically telling your opponent no over and over again. You can make their Vanguard not there. You can make one of the rear guards not restand at all. It just says this unit does not stand. So as long as you meet the condition, you just get it. There's also a really insane impact in here, but this build specifically wasn't running it. I think there's like 3 different ways to actually realistically build this deck, so I'm not going to sit here and try and explain all 3 ways, especially when I haven't played the deck yet. My boyfriend plays it and he liked it, but he was kind of he's still kind of figuring out. You can also like turn 1 rush with like these 2 cards right here that kind of come out like turn 1. You can just kind of poke your opponent down. So if you guys enjoyed that, I hope you guys did not find Buddyfight that terrifying, because it's not. It is just like every other deck out there with just different conditions. And so I hope you have fun. Boy, 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 boy. You have reached the end of the video, and I wanted to say thank you. I'm trying something different where I kind of put the segment of me explaining cool things towards the end of the video, so that way it doesn't really clutter my general direction with videos that I'm taking. I'm trying to kind of better flow with these, but don't forget to Orange 50 cards.shop, code orange if you want to save yourself some money. I also have a dual spec code. It's OuterOrange on that one, and I also have a BCWSUPPLIES code. You can also use my code ORANGE10 to save some money there. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much as always for helping me and enjoying the content with me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Lots of loves and kisses to everybody and all that kind of fun stuff. And I'll see you guys in a future video. Boy, 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 boy.